Ladies and gentlemen, cover your feet and toes because Mr. Snack is back by popular demand.
Ready or not. Welcome to Mr.SNACKS Soul Cafe. The host for this evening is Hiroshi. In tonight's podcast, Hiroshi is going to share life's play of life and sound. The subject will be psychological suffering. Hiroshi has shared an understanding that everything that happens in our life happens to show us that life, as we perceive it, is illusory. Enjoy. Let's get it on, Cat Daddy.
All right, welcome to Mr.SNACKS Cafe, Soul Cafe that is. My name is Hiroshi, and I will be also joined by AI, Artificial Intelligence, my lady, Andrea, or Audrey. You can call her anything, but just don't call her late for dinner. Anyway, 3:45 a.m., also my announcer, David Hayes. Thank you so much, sir. Podcast number 5. I am up. And let's talk about what's really going on today. A lot of blame. That's been going on for a long time. People blaming each other, blaming ourselves. So what I'm sharing is just an understanding that has happened to me. And I am sure many of you will disagree or have disagreed because of my past podcast. And that's okay. You can agree to disagree. And it's not a popular sharing that I'm doing here. One time I was asked to do a spiritual meetup group with a friend of mine. I said, okay. And we started with 16 people, I think it was. And about, we met once a week. And about week 10, I think I came down to 2 people that really wanted to be there. Very controversial. Because we ended up with 2. And I was asked to do it again, and I said, no, thank you, no. I don't want to go through that again. Getting back to the blame. I'm here to tell you, there's no one to blame. No others to blame, and no blame for yourself. I know you're going, oh, come on, this is crazy. Hiroshi has lost it. But you know why there's no one to blame? Because there's no cause of anything. No cause of anything. No cause and effect. We covered that before. I'll mention it again. Cause and effect are separate. There's a cause and there's an effect. Life is one, so there cannot be any separation. It's one energy. It's just energy. A flow of energy. And any division or separation is in the mind only, because that is the function of the mind, to separate. So the mind will go, this is a cause, this is an effect. So I'm going to show you that the cause and effect are one. You may think, I'm here because of my parents. My parents are the cause and I'm the effect. But cause and effect are one. Cause is an effect is a cause. Your parents being the cause, they are an effect because of their parents. You see what I'm saying? And it goes on and on. So cause and effect are one, not separate in life, but in the mind, it appears that way, appears separate. All right, so nothing causes anything. And let me explain. There's a man, he's got some groceries from the 7-Eleven. Bought some groceries at the corner store there, 7-Eleven. After purchasing groceries, he starts to walk home. Doesn't live too far. While crossing the street, the crosswalk, there's a drunk driver that doesn't really notice there's a stop sign at the intersection where the man is crossing. At the very last second, the drunk driver slams on his brakes, but it's too late. He hits the man crossing the street. Now you're thinking, okay, the drunk driver caused this to happen. But did he really? Let's just look at this and step back in the way we perceive things. Just as easily say that the man was hit by the drunk driver because the car was invented by Henry Ford. Right? If there weren't cars, he would have never been hit. Or because Jimmy Wheel invented the wheel. I don't know if Jimmy Wheel invented the wheel. Because of the wheel was invented. Right? Or someone put a pavement there on dirt. And if it wasn't for the invention or the creation of the pavement, it would have never happened. Or hey, how about this? Man was hit because he went to the 7-Eleven. If it wasn't in his 7-Eleven there, then he would have never gone to the store and he would have never been hit by the car and on and on. Well, let's go even deeper than that. And if he wasn't married, he wouldn't have a wife telling him to go to the 7-Eleven and get a hot dog.
Honey, go get me a hot dog with relish, mustard, and onions, please. Hurry up. I am so hungry I could eat the south end of a northbound donkey. Baby.
And if her parents didn't have sex that particular night, she wouldn't exist. If the drunk driver wasn't born, there wouldn't have been a driver to hit him, right? And let's really go very deep. If it wasn't for the Big Bang, the beginning of the universe, we can blame it on the Big Bang. Then there wouldn't have been a universe for anything to happen.
Okay, bang.
There's really no cause of anything, you know? Because there's no end to the amount of circumstances that come into play. And not a single one of them is the cause of anything else. They're just automatic effects and consequences. Everything is happening on its own as a spontaneous event. And if there's no cause of anything, there's nothing and nobody to blame for anything. And if there's nothing to blame, no one to blame, then there's absolutely nothing to be upset or angry about. But of course, we're human beings and we get angry. That's just normal. Anger is, as we covered in the last podcast, is just a movement of energy. It's a label we put upon and impose upon a movement of energy. We call it anger. Another movement of energy, we call it jealousy or envy or happiness or love. They're just labels. Nothing wrong with it, nothing right with it. Everything just is what it is, and we have no choice but to accept it. You don't accept it, it happened. Right? No matter what's happening on this planet, in the universe, it's perfect. It can't possibly be anything but perfect. But the mind says, no, it shouldn't have happened. It's not perfect. That's a mind thing. And the mind has no clue. The mind's not in life. It's perfect because it happened and it could not have happened. So life unfolds. Life is a singular movement of energy, which constantly changes and transforms, sophisticates. So this whole concept of causation, cause and effect, is an entirely false ingrained perception, I call it. That is in everybody's best interest to let it go, to let it drop. Because we understand what? The understanding that it can't be other than what is. And with the dropping of this causation, this perception, then nobody would be acting out of anger or blame or resentment or hate. You know, why? Because everybody would fully accept and respect and love all of life for what it is. Of course, the attorneys would be out of business. Life is as it is. And there's no blame. But we do blame because the mind's function is to find the cause, a reason. That's its function.
It is time for a coffee break. Wow, quicker than a cat on a marble floor you are. Hiroshi, what will you like to order, my dear?
Oh, just give me a double ristretto venti, half soy, non-fat, decaf, organic, double shot gingerbread frappuccino, sweet and low, and one NutraSweet, and some ice, please.
Hey baby, it's time to blow this pop stand. See ya.
Caught this movie called The Joker. I wanted to see it. It left the main theaters, went to the cheap theaters, to the $2 theaters. You know what I'm talking about. And watched it, paid the $2, $10 and $15 for the popcorn and drink. Came out, and something was weird about my car, but I ignored it. Went to Starbucks the next day, drive-through, had my drink, wanted to pull out the cup holder from underneath the console inside the car, and it was missing. It was gone. My change that was there, maybe about $10 of change, it's gone. I realized at that moment my car was broken into. My windows wouldn't roll up. The regulators were, some kids broke into the car.
Bad boys.
Now, I am pissed. I am mad.
Madder than a rained-on rooster in Florida.
The mind with its thoughts, because I was giving attention to it. And the thing is, oh my goodness, I'm going to catch these kids. I'm going to get them. How can this happen? Why did it have to happen to me? Now the windows have got to get fixed. My cup holder thing is missing. And then that evening, I decided maybe the kids will be breaking into other cars. So I went over there, parked, stayed there for about 2 hours, hoping to find them. And I came up with all kind of things in my imagination. If I catch them, boy, am I going to get them. What I'll do is I'll kidnap them and take them to the desert in Vegas and leave them in the middle of the desert. So my imagination went running. But I was really pissed, very upset. I was going to get them. Okay, God, where are you? Why don't you help out? Why don't you get off your little throne up there? Stop being lazy and do something. I mean, I really went crazy, hog wild and pig crazy.
Oink, oink.
But then again, with this understanding, I realized, boy, I am miserable. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. It already happened. It's done. My windows need to be repaired. It's very inconvenient. But it is what it is. And nothing I can do to change or unchange what has happened. So it's just wasteful. So with the understanding is just the acceptance. And with the acceptance and the surrendering to what is, there is peace. Otherwise, if I keep dwelling in that mind, that trap, that torture machine, I'm going to be miserable. All right, that's about it. I need to take just a short break here to quench my thirst. And I shall, as Douglas MacArthur said, I shall return.
Here it comes.
With a little bit of watermelon juice here. Tastes really good. I like it. It's getting pretty late. It's really early in the morning. It's about 4:20 a.m. My goodness. Getting back to the blame thing, it's never about the other person. During some disagreement between two individuals, relatively speaking, it may appear that one is causing hurt or pain or suffering for the other. By what? By some sort of look or tone of voice or words. What is really happening is the one who seems to be bringing the pain or the suffering or the anxiety to the other is a messenger. It's like those kids that broke into my car. Messengers. So this messenger is a mirror for the other to look at something within himself or herself. Yeah. It's far easier to blame someone else than to face the shadow within oneself. Because we do have the shadow. To acknowledge the truth that everything outside of ourselves is a reflection of what is going on inside oneself is to acknowledge that there's nothing going on outside of ourselves. Everything is internal. We live in a world of thoughts. We don't see what's out there. We see our labels. The image that's formed in our mind, the interpretations. The true, pure seeing is without the interference of the mind. We live in a world of duality. Duality is a world of opposites. Up and down, beautiful and ugly, good and bad, light and dark, saint in the center, etc.
Young and old.
So the negative polarity is one pole of that duality. It complements and coexists with the positive pole, the yin and the yang. The ego generally judges this negative polarity to be bad or awful, right? However, without this negative pole, the positive pole cannot exist. You need both. One defines the other. So these polarities of life, good and bad, right and wrong, black and white, now or later, which appear to be opposing each other, but in actuality are complementary. One cannot exist without the other. But we want the good. We want the right. We want the good, right, the love, the happiness. We don't want the negative part. And that's the suffering. Because we want one or the other. The suffering drops when there's no preference. When there's the acceptance, surrendering to life as it is. And life as it is whether we like it or not. So we can complain, bitch, whatever. Does it do any good? Because what we're complaining about has already happened. Example with my car getting broken into. It already happened. So all my complaining, all my being upset is my problem. It isn't their problem. It's mine. So it ruins my day. So with this understanding, then you can get angry. You can get upset. That's normal. But you don't hold on to it. You become more like Teflon. It just slides off of you. It's there and then it's gone. Instead of Velcro, where it just sticks and simmers, and you're mad for hours, days, weeks sometimes. Notice is that when anger arises, rage, it's always after the fact. You can't do anything about what has happened because what has happened happened. So why get all angry? But then again, anger is just the label of the movement of energy. It had to happen because it did happen. But then the response kicks in, the understanding. Instead of reacting to the situation, response comes in. And so the anger may be there, but it just dissolves. And all attempts to control this anger, you may have gotten into an argument, let's say with your girlfriend or wife, or the opposite, husband, boyfriend. And you may beat yourself up. I'm not going to get angry again. I'm going to control myself, control my temper. But you find that is all futile because life happens spontaneous. Life is very unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. And then you find yourself ticked off again. Right? But the control is an illusion. We think we do have control, but we don't. How can you control movement of energy? Who is there to control it? The ego, which is illusory. Now, there may be an appearance of control, but appearances come and go. They're not real. So if one were in control of one's life, would we ever be sad? Would we ever have evil or negative thoughts? Can we stop a thought? Can we just think positive thoughts, beautiful thoughts in life? And if we had control, if control wasn't an illusion and it was real, would we ever make a mistake, a small mistake, or even a huge mistake? Going to the horse races at Santa Anita when I lived in LA, just for the fun of it. And I bet on a horse and it would lose. And I said, gosh, my first thought was to bet on the number 2 horse. Why didn't I do that?
Because you didn't.
Why did I change my mind? You know, through a divorce, why didn't I try harder in my marriage?
Because you didn't.
Why didn't I do this or do that?
It just didn't happen, my dear.
But if we had control, would we ever make mistakes? I'll tell you one thing, I would never do the wrong thing. This one is a funny one. You go out and you eat and you have this huge banana split, sundae or chocolate cake, and then afterwards, what are you saying to yourself? I shouldn't have ordered that. Why did I order that? All this talk, all this thinking drops away when the realization is that you're not the doer. Not only are you not the doer, they're not the doer. As Shakespeare once said, there's one actor playing all the parts. We aren't living our lives. So you're not making life happen. That's the illusion. We think we're in control. It's like when you're a kid, you're at Disneyland and those little cars that are going around. You think you're driving the car, steering the wheel there, but it's on a track. But of course, the ego, the false self, the I, which is just a creation of your mind, this fictional character that you think you really are, says, no, I'm in control. I decide. Decisions being made, but you're not doing it. Choices are made, but there's no chooser. And back to the blame, paradoxical though it may sound, there is a path, there is this journey that we're on. There is walking in this journey being done, but there's no traveler. That's what Buddha said. There are deeds being done, but there's no doer. If there's no doer, the person's not a doer, you're not a doer. It's all just happening to you. So there's no blame. You don't blame someone. You did this. No, life is living through you. Life is living through that other person. It's just one singular movement. So then blame drops and even credit drops because it's just life happening to all of us. We are not making life happen. Life happens. Life is nature. We are not separate from nature.
Can a rose not have thorns?
It's a mental thing that we experience the frustration because we don't get our way, because that other person is not acting according to our expectations or our demands. Become more relaxed because the other person can't help but do what they do or think what they think or say what they say. As you said, Audrey, the thorns came with the roses. Light and sound is just energy. Light is life, aliveness. Sound is the mind. Sound is light. It's just at a slower speed, a different frequency. The suffering happens because we just don't like what's happening. We wish that it could be other than what is. And what is what's happening. What is all there is. I'll quote the Bible, Book of John. And even Jesus says, I do nothing of myself. He didn't even take credit for the good things he did. But it was the Father, as he referred to, doing all the works through him. And even in the Hindu scriptures, it says that all processes are out of my control. And once this is seen with understanding, then the suffering drops. So when you look around at life, you realize that you have no clue how or why life moves in the way it does. It's a mystery. It can't be figured out by the mind. I know that I'm not doing it. You're not doing it. Others aren't doing it. And all your efforts to try to control life are illusory. But they're just part of the flow of life itself. I can't bring about the flow. It's there. You can't change it. You know. I used to, my oldest daughter, Tanya, get, upset with her. And years ago, I talked to her on the phone. She says, Dad, I'll give you a call back. I'm busy right now. I'll give you a call back in about 5 minutes. And it'll be days later. She would always be doing this. And she's usually always late. I'll give you one example here. Years ago, used to get, for a long period of time, get upset with my oldest daughter, I wouldn't express it to her. But being on the phone with her, in the conversation, she'll say, Dad, I'll give you a call back in 5 minutes. Or I get a text. Can't talk to you now, Dad, but I'll call you in 10 minutes. It may be days or even a week before she gets back to me. This was consistently happening. She would always be late. You know, I said, Tanya, you know, when I be over there in LA, we got to get going about 1 o'clock. Okay, Dad. We'd leave at 2:30. I mean, that extreme. She'd miss appointments 99% of the time. And I would just be frustrated. I would be upset. The anger would be there. Why does she have to do this? Why can't she be more responsible? Radical understanding. It's that she can't help it. This is the way life is living through her. There are people that are responsible, people that are irresponsible. Take my brother. Organized. Neat freak. Has OCD. Vacuums 2-3 times a day. I tell you, then my mind goes and compares. That's the function of the mind. Compares. Why can't I be like him? Why can't I have his good traits? To be other than what it is. I want to be like him. Maybe he wants to be like me and be involved in the music industry. So there's just that lack of acceptance and surrendering to what is. Because our mind will come up with, if it was different, that would be better. Says our friends or maybe someone else may think the same way of us. I wish Hiroshi was different. You know, I wish he didn't tell so many corny jokes. Former spouse used to say while we were married that I wasn't affectionate enough. I didn't hug enough. And that was her complaint. And, you know, with my conditioning, I was raised by a Japanese mother. And in that culture, they're not that affectionate. They bow in their greetings. They don't shake hands and hug like maybe families in the Latin culture or other cultures. They don't kiss. There is not a public display of emotion in that culture. And I grew up with that. But still, that was ingrained in me from my conditioning. I couldn't help it. I didn't choose to not be affectionate. If I had control, I would just go, hey, be affectionate. Be more loving. Less corny jokes. I said before, as Andrea said, or Audrey, you know, the thorns came with the roses. The roses had no choice. And in nature, like the animals, the dog chases the cat. The dog cannot chase the cat. It's in it, the dog, to chase the cat. So how about our DNA, our genes? Just put upon us. No control.
Does man beat his heart?
You know, we just showed up on the scene without any effort. We're just here.
Goodbye for now.
From Trinidad to Barbados, Zimbabwe to London, from Japan to...
All right.
I can hear him smacking now.